Welcome back to Connect TV. My name is Victoria, and for today's episode, I'm super excited to be talking about something that's really important. It's accessibility in events, and I am joined today by Shani Dhanda, who is an inclusion and accessibility specialist, and really excited to have you here today, Shani. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we dive into the conversation, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah. Went to uni and studied event and venue management. It was a relatively new career, a new course back when I studied it, and I spent 10 years in events. I worked in-house, I worked freelance and agency, so I feel like I've had good exposure to lots of different things, and I often found myself to be one of the only visibly disabled people working in the industry. Living in a world that isn't designed for you sets you up really well to work in the events industry. You know, you have to be good at problem solving, you have to know what to do in a crisis, you have to have plan A, plan B, plan C. So I felt like I had the right skill set just from having to navigate life, and I really enjoyed my time in the industry.
That's really good to hear, and I'm kind of curious to understand from you, your passion about accessibility.
Yeah.
Why is it so important when it comes to our industry, when it comes to events?
Accessibility is something that not only those of us that live with health conditions and impairments need, but it actually benefits everybody. And the reason it's important is because when we don't think about it, we are excluding a massive segment of the population, whether we are doing it innocently or unconsciously or not. And why should some people, based on their characteristics, be excluded from attending events or having the opportunity to be part of those experiences, especially when you consider, globally, disabled people control a market of £13 trillion. It's not, just from a commercial sense alone, we can't be ignoring this segment and this market size.
Yeah, I think you hit on a good point there about, it's obviously a moral imperative, but there's also a business impact to it as well. I'm curious to hear a bit about your own experience. Have you ever been at an event where, there could have been more done to ensure that it was more accessible, more inclusive?
Because my background's in events, I'm always critiquing it, and I'm sure many other event professionals are the same. When they go to other events or experiences, they're thinking, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. As event professionals, you don't know what you don't know, right? And accessibility or let's say disability is one of those topics that people are a bit fearful about. People don't want to offend, people don't want to do or say the wrong thing, and sometimes that means people then just don't do anything. And I get it, but when you think about the fact that, especially when we look at the digital side of things and the online world, when you live in a world that physically isn't designed for you, and then the online world is just as exclusionary, what options are left? It's quite a lonely space, but a very underserved and overlooked space as well.
I think that's a really important point to reiterate there. Yeah. It's, all about making sure that people do feel that inclusion. And what would you say then are some, first steps for event organisers to think about, trying to make their events more accessible? What should they be thinking about when it comes to registration, for example, or on-site? Where are your thoughts there?
So just to set the context around sort of the population, 1 in 4 of us live with a health condition or an impairment. And you may think that you don't attract disabled people to your events, but the majority of disabled people live with non-visible health conditions. So you will have, it just may not be apparent. So some of the things that I suggest thinking about is having a dedicated line item for accessibility in your budget from the outset. It shouldn't be a surprise. If someone does request any adjustments, you should preempt those. And at the moment, I'm wanting to attend an event, but there's nothing there about accessibility. But I've contacted this organisation a month ago, and I still haven't heard back. So another good thing to do is to put all the information there available, information that you think people may not want to know but could make the difference of someone deciding to part with their money and to come to your event or your experience. Having familiarization videos is really important, from like how to get from the car park or the local station to your venue, or what it looks like when you get inside. That really helps specific populations like neurodiverse people. But who doesn't go on TikTok now and watch videos of like something that they're gonna do, whether it's a holiday, you know, whether it's to go and visit a new place that they haven't been before, like a restaurant. It's the equivalent of that, and that's how consumers are changing as well. So but it benefits everybody. I would also say, don't think about accessibility as just wheelchairs and ramps. It's not. It's, you know, wheelchair users are a minority in the disability community. I think it's just about thinking, how can we make this experience as barrier-free as possible? That's the best way to think about it, because the events industry is one of the most creative industries. We make the unimaginable happen. So when it comes to accessibility, it's very easy in comparison. It's just probably that we don't know what best practice is or looks like, but there are people that you can work with. You know, I work with loads of event agencies to help them embed accessibility in all their events and experiences.
So you mentioned a really important point there, you know, if you don't have that knowledge in-house, you know, what are some of the best routes to make sure that you're getting that outside expertise?
I think it's important for people who are working in this industry to always be curious and want to know what the best practice is. And you can do that by working with, you know, external consultants and experts, but it is important that they have knowledge of the events industry and how the world of events work. You know, a lot of events will have income generation targets against them, for example, and what we're not talking about here is making compromises on, you know, the aesthetics of the event or how the event program may need to be. You can still have it all, and for it all to be accessible. The key is to make it really seamless and not to make those event attendees who may have certain requirements, not to make them feel othered. So there's an art to doing it, but yeah, reaching out to the right people who have that knowledge is, I think, the best way.
I'm curious, you know, as to what you would say in terms of capturing that information from attendees in the first place, because like you say, there are many types of disabilities and not all of them are visible. So what can event organisers do to ensure that they know what requirements their attendees need and are then catering to that?
I think wherever possible, you're communicating with your audience, whether they've converted as a customer yet or not, whether it's prospective, you're just marketing an event, or they have perhaps purchased a ticket. You want to use every opportunity to build trust and to help people share that information with you. If I'm looking to attend an event and there's nothing about accessibility, I don't really see any diverse or disabled people in the marketing, that's already going to put a perspective in my head that, oh, maybe they may not know how to cater to my needs. So I would urge people to always think of these moments as to build trust and to say, you know, have a question in your forms to say, let us know if you have any access needs, and give some examples of what that could be. That's always a good idea, like a BSL interpreter, a quiet room, for example, help with registration at the registration desk. It could be so many different things, because what that does, it sends a clear signal to say, we care, we want to get this right, help us to do this. So it's all about building trust and showing people that you care about their access needs or whatever needs that they might have to be able to come and participate in that event or experience. What event organisers shouldn't do is ask people their medical history, and they shouldn't really be asking the names of their health condition or impairment, because how many of us in the event industry are medical professionals? It's kind of pointless information. All that we should be concerned about is, you know, what are the potential barriers that you may experience, and by sharing as much as you can about the event, about the venue, what might happen when, that's when we as disabled people can give you the best information of what we may need.
I'm I'm going to ask you about the venue side of things, because obviously we're here in London, you know, lots of old buildings across Europe too, and I'm just curious in terms of how do you think venues can work to make sure that their spaces are accessible, you know, especially if we are thinking about venues that are a bit older, may not have been built with that in mind?
I think that's a really valid concern. I get asked this a lot, and I think always build partnerships and work with the venues that you know are accessible, and encourage the ones that aren't and aren't yet on this journey to get there. And I know that's easier said than done, and I know we are pulled in all sorts of different directions with client needs and requests. You know, your client might want you to use a certain venue, but it may not be accessible. So it's also the responsibility of those of us within the industry to not just go with the status quo, because that means that a massive segment of people are still being excluded. Being able to respectfully push back on those things where possible is really important, but it is also down to venues to be as accessible as possible, and that could mean doing temporary things. That could mean about thinking about things in a different way, or holding some parts of the event in different spaces to others. Like I said, I think the events industry is one of the most creative industries. I think there's always ways to find solutions.
Absolutely, and I would love to touch on technology for a moment. You know, what opportunities do you see in regards to using technology to help make events more accessible?
I think we saw that in lockdown. So many people that were previously excluded from things were now able to have access. And it was quick, and it was pretty immediate and overnight. And I think the sad thing about that is a lot of that has now disappeared. We saw a lot of hybrid events, we saw a lot of online events, and I'm not saying that that's the only way we should go going forward, but I think having a mix of options, you know, is really important. Using technology, you can really help to build that connection and trust with your audiences and with your event attendees. You can get that information across about accessibility. You can help to build in a mechanism where people can share what access requirements they may have. So it can really help to make that seamless experience for both the attendee but also the organiser as well.
I wanted to touch on the fact that this year we're going to see the European Accessibility Act coming into force. And so what are your thoughts about that, and how do you think that can impact the industry?
I think not enough people really know about the implications of the European Accessibility Act coming in June 2025. What it will mean is if you are not an accessible business, you won't be able to sell and market to the European customer base. You will have to withdraw your offering from that area. So there are exemptions that you need to apply for if you need an extension. Go and look into it now. It's coming fast, and it's going to affect everybody, and I don't think people really realise.
So my final question then is, you know, looking ahead into the future, what's your vision for accessibility in the industry? Where do you hope we'll be, you know, years down the line?
I hope that event professionals understand that if their events aren't accessible, then their events aren't complete or a success. And I know that sounds a bit harsh, but that's the truth. And I hope that event professionals do lean on the expertise of accessibility, you know, professionals, and we get more disabled people into the industry as well. What could be better than creating more jobs too?
Well, thank you so much, Shani, for joining us. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. We have more sessions coming up soon.